I don't know. Oh, okay, it's being recorded, which is good. So I don't personally know Lynette, but I know several of you do from Weight Watchers and meetings and so forth. But Lynette, I understand you're a life coach. You have been that for 15 years, certified. And I know that Arlene wanted me to say something about the village movement before your presentation. And it is really important for us to be able to present, wonderful programs and communication with other people like this. But the village movement started 20 years ago in Beacon Hill in Boston. We're actually celebrating it February 15th. Yesterday, we had a community meeting, like open house, for the first time in 2 years. So we are again trying to open back up and expand our horizons. But the village movement has been such a very welcome force across the country. We have like 300 villages across the country and in 4 or 5 other countries too. The whole idea is that people want to stay in their own homes if possible, as long as possible, with the help of volunteers. So the village movement was created in order to have people join up, become members. They do pay membership fees and they vary, but then they get these wonderful volunteer services for free. And the volunteers do it because they really want to help. They don't get remunerated at all. They don't get paid. But it's more the fact that we have formed communities that have become so important. So we've all become friends, community members, but we are sharing in our activities, in a lot of social things. And it just felt so good to stay connected, especially during the pandemic 2 years. We felt like we had a group of connection. So that's just basically what we do, and our membership has grown and volunteers have grown. We always can use more, but it takes everybody reaching out continuously. Joining a village becomes something that doesn't make sense 1 year, but maybe a couple years down the road it does. And at least we're here and people know that Clayton Valley Village is around here, so people can use it. So Lynette, I like you to go ahead with your program. I think we can all use a little life coaching, and I already commented on my own. Arlene, are you trying to say something?
No.
You're going like that, yeah.
I'm playing with the iPad.
Oh, okay, but go ahead, and you're going to fill us in on wellness, nutrition, motivation, and all the good things that we need to hear. So welcome very much.
Well, what a pleasure to be with you. What a remarkable group of people. I mean, the people that I know here are remarkable. And so I'm sure the rest of you fit in that category as well. And I'm happy to be with you. And my topic is the best is yet to come. And let me just fill you in a little more on myself. I do work for WW. I've worked with them for 16 years with that company. And so I have coached wellness and weight loss, and I love it. And I'm not going to talk specifically about that today, but what I am going to talk about is my other venture. In June of 2020, my husband passed away, sadly. And he had a stroke and was in the hospital for 6 weeks during COVID. I couldn't be with him. It was really very difficult. And so 2 brain surgeries and 6 weeks in neuro ICU, he passed away. And I was left with my future kind of different than I had anticipated it would be. And in that, I decided that I wanted to expand my coaching. And so I went to work, and, during the pandemic, it's just been crazy, but I took that opportunity to become certified as a life coach. So in addition to my work with health and wellness with WW, I now have a practice of life coaching where I do more of the general well-being, do that kind of work now. And so that's kind of where I want to go now, but it certainly applies to everything in our lives. And I would love for this to actually be a workshop. That's what how I love to work. If we're going to be together, I'd rather have it be something that benefits you rather than just something that you listen to and then go and kind of live your life the same way. My hope is that after our discussion today, you might do something just a little bit different, and you might have some new ideas and some new insights. So here's what I'd love for us to do today. I'm going to first just take you through a little exercise. So if you have pen and paper, that would make it most effective. If you have something to write with, so that I'm going to ask you to do a few things and run you through an exercise just to give you some perspective. And then I'm going to share with you, I think the number one life-changing habit that we should all practice, and give you some experience with that. I'm going to actually give you a special offer to try some of my coaching, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. And I'm happy to stay as long as you'd like to answer any questions that you might have. So that's kind of the general outline of where I'd like to go today. And thank you for your time. So I'll spend, Arlene said, about 30 minutes on a little presentation, maybe a little more, a little less. And then we'll have Q&A for, as I said, as long as you'd like. So I want you to think for a minute, what if your best days were ahead of you? When I was a young mom, and by the way, my husband and I have 5 sons. I have 5 perfect daughters-in-law and 10 grandchildren. So I'm kind of in the thick of that. And I don't know about you, but my life was pretty mapped out until the kids moved out. And then it was like, and now what do I do? And so often it is, we're kind of on the downhill side. They even talk about that, right? You're over the hill now, and you're just kind of on the downside of life, and your best years are behind you, that kind of thing. But I want you to consider that, what if your best days are ahead of you? What if the best times in your life are ahead of you? What if you haven't even met some really important people in your life? And so I'm going to take you through an exercise. This exercise comes from Dan Sullivan, who is a coach and a researcher. And here's the question. So I want you to just go with this and write down what number could you write down that represents the age at which you expect to die? So write down a number that represents the year that you expect to die, the age that you expect to die.
That's an interesting.
And now I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and I want you to answer these. And this is for that year before, what your life is going to be like the year before you die. So now we're going to 1 year before the year you expect to die. So you ready? Here's question number 1. How are you doing physically a year before that year you expect to die? How are you doing physically? Just imagine it. And question number 2 is, how are you doing mentally that year before you expect to die? Number 3 is, how are you doing financially? Four is, how would you describe the quality of your relationships? And the last question is, make an assessment of the life you've lived up until this time, up until that year before you die. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just make a quick assessment of the life you've lived up until that time. Kind of make an outline.
Hi, Lynette.
Hi. We're just writing some questions, Kathy. You can catch up on the.
That's fine. That's fine. I just got back from the dentist.
That's exciting. Okay, 1 more minute. Your assessment of the life you've lived up until that time. Isn't that a powerful exercise? Now I have a question for you. Why don't you plan to live another 15 years beyond what you put down as the year you expect to die? Dan Sullivan did this work because he realized he wanted to live long. So he made the decision that he was going to plan to live to be 156. And he said, you know what, if I don't make it, I'll be fine. I'm not going to be disappointed. I'll be dead. And I love that. And it changed his perspective on life. Instead of feeling like he was at the end of his life, he felt like he was at the middle and the prime of his life. And honestly, reading about this, it really sparked something in me to say, I'm not dead yet. I'm not dying. I have life and life is good. And I want to keep living. Our society kind of marginalizes people over 50 or 60, in my opinion. I mean, I've never been 63 before, or 64. I guess I'm 64 now. I've never been this age before, but it's not at all what I expected. How about you? My mother-in-law used to tell me, you feel like you're young all your life. And it's our thoughts that make us feel older. And so we can change that. If we can start thinking in new ways and start thinking that we're going to live long. The Stoics, or the ancient philosophers, talked a lot about coming to terms with the idea that we're going to die. We're all going to die. But they said, when you really recognize that, they call it momentum mori, you're going to die. That makes today so precious, and that we have work to do and we don't want to waste any of it. And I just love that perspective, to say that you all have gifts to give. You all have things that the world will benefit from. And it's obvious because you're involved in an amazing philanthropic organization. I mean, you're involved in something that is truly giving life and meaning to yourself and to others. And so I'm talking to a group that gets this. But I really want you to even think bigger about what you want your life to be, and how you have a lot left to give. And, you know, why not imagine that you're going to live to be 156? I mean, and then let that really drive you to keep doing the work that you want to do. And so that's what I want you to keep as your perspective, as I take you through a few little other ideas. So will you jot down, what would you need to do to be where you want to be as you described it? Like, what would you have to do to the year before you die, like you're 155? What would you need to be doing to be both physically, mentally, financially, in your relationships? What are you doing now to make that positive? So just write down some things you do, practical things you do every day that help to keep you physically, mentally, financially strong relationships. You can include on this list things you are doing right now, and maybe some things that you'd like to start doing, or that you've been meaning to do, you just haven't quite gotten to yet. Let me read you a quote by Dan Sullivan, I think is really good when we consider this. He said, "There is an intricate relationship between what your mind recognizes as being worth living for and the ability of your body to keep living. Amazing things happen when you change your mindset and start to think about the rest of your life, not as coming to an end, but as constantly getting bigger." Isn't that excellent? They did some research, you may have heard about it, where they took some men and they created, these men were in their 70s and 80s, I believe, and they created this kind of, they changed an apartment building and took it back in time to when these men were in their 40s and 50s. Like they had magazines and newspapers from that time. They had researched what their jobs were, and they just put these men into this situation where they went kind of back in time. And when they came out of this research, they measured things like heart rate, like a lot of the health markers. These men improved in their blood pressure, and in all of their health markers were improved as their minds went back to a vibrant, useful, happy time in their lives. And they even found, get this, some of them got taller. Isn't that amazing? Like they stood taller having gone through that experience. That's the power of our mind. And so as we start to think, oh, I'm getting older, we won't be as maybe as active because we feel like, oh, our bodies are slowing down. And that in turn, you know, as we don't use our muscles, then we start to lose them. And so our mind has such a powerful influence on our behaviors that if we can switch our minds and start thinking more in terms of vibrant, alive, focused, energetic thoughts, that we're going to live a long time and our lives are getting better and bigger and we have a lot of things ahead of us. It just makes it an amazing experience. That mindset shift can change everything. And so I want you to consider that I'm not going to tell you to do everything on your list, but here's what I have found really helps. And this, I've been doing research on this for 3 or 4 years specifically. And this is the one habit that I have discovered really changes things for both myself and for my clients. And that is how you spend the first hour of your day. So think for a minute. You probably all have routines around the first hour of your day. And just think about it. And by hour, I don't necessarily mean 60 minutes, but what are the first things that you do? What are your habits around the first things you do every day? Just kind of make a mental note about that. Think about your current routine. And I want you to consider that having an intentional practice as your first thing that you do in the morning can change your life. It sounds dramatic, but I'm just saying it's going to help you to live more intentionally, because often we just kind of take the day as it comes and just let things happen. And we just deal with it as things show up, we deal with them. And I'm suggesting that if you start your day with intention, you're going to be happy. You're going to make progress in all of those areas that make your life better. And so I call that prep time. And as you think about your current routine, how intentional is it? Or how much is it just kind of get up and go with the flow? I want you to consider making a routine, an intentional routine with your morning. It might start with just 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, and it can grow according to what you want to make it. But I have developed this practice of prep time, and it's an acronym, PREP. So if you want to write that down, you can make a little note. So when you first wake up and you get moving, you go to a place where you do your prep time for the day. So the P stands for, first of all, I should say, I'm a spiritual person. I believe in purpose in life, that there's more to life than just, living and dying and hanging out, that we're here for a reason, and that we all have gifts to give, and that we, all of it has purpose and meaning. And so the P stands for ponder and prayer. It stands for just taking a minute to connect with your spiritual nature every day, first thing. And it just kind of signals your brain that this is important to you, whether that is scripture, meditation, whatever that means for you, to just tap into that spiritual side of yourself. So that's the P. And then the R stands for reflect. And so with this section, reflecting on what happened yesterday. And the way you do that is to take that list that you wrote down of the things that you do every day that you want to maybe be habituated. Those are the things you want to do every day. And it may be, for example, walking or eating vegetables or connecting with a friend or whatever you wrote down on that list, that you become intentional about those behaviors. And I've developed a journal. And in this journal, there is a habit tracker. And you probably have seen habit trackers before, but let me show you the one that I designed. And it is just, and you can do this on your paper, right where you are. It just has a space to write down the habit that you want to practice, and then little squares for each day of the week. And so you would just decide, it can be 1 or 2 things. It doesn't have to be a ton, but you just write down, what are the things I want to do every day? And then as you reflect on the previous day, you think, okay, did I do that? Did I do that? One of the things, for example, on my habit tracker is to practice the piano, because I am a pianist. I love music, but often piano would just not happen for me because, life would get crazy and I never did it. And so now that's on my habit tracker. And so I sit at the piano every day because I want to mark it off. Our brain loves success. So when we can mark something off our list, then we feel good and we're motivated to do it again because it's a little pleasure hit, a little dopamine hit. And so this is not meant to be a judge. This is not meant to be critical. This is meant to just give you a reminder of what you want your life to be, because our lives are made up of days and daily practices and daily habits. So the extent that we're intentional about what we want to do, then if those are the things we want our lives to include, then we are more likely to do it if we have a check-in with it. So the reflect portion is to look back on the previous day and say, how did I do with my habits? And also a part of that is, I call it 3 in 1. So it is to reflect and say, what are 3 things that went well yesterday? In fact, I want you to do that right now. Just think about yesterday and jot down at least one thing that went well yesterday that you're happy about. It can also be a gratitude practice. So you can say, what am I grateful for? The research is amazing on practicing gratitude. So as you think back on yesterday, what are you grateful for that happened yesterday? Jot down a couple of things, 2 or 3. And as you do that, check in with yourself and see how that makes you feel. If you do nothing else that we talk about today, but just make a practice of writing gratitude every day, your life will be happier. It's amazing research. And probably some of you already have that practice, but it's part of prep time. So again, the first P is for prayer and ponder. The second P, the R in prep is for reflect. Reflect on yesterday. Reflect on the habits you wanted to practice, and then do a 3-in-1, your 3 gratitudes. That's the R. The E stands for engage. And this is the section where you engage with the best part of you, like who you want to be. This is the place to, if you have a vision board or any kind of, you can maybe go back to those questions where you wrote, what do you want to be? Where do you want to be physically and mentally and in your relationships and spiritually and financially, to just reflect and remember, this is who I am. This is the best in me, that I want to get in touch with that. And every day, remember, I have gifts. I have things that I can offer the world. And it's important that we really tune into that regularly. You might read some inspirational thoughts or some quotes. And here are a couple for you to think about. J.R.R. Tolkien, Gandalf said this in The Hobbit. He said, I have found that it is the small everyday deeds of ordinary folks that keep the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love. Isn't that excellent? So you read something like that and you feel like, yes, that's who I am. That's what I want to do today. Wherever I am, whoever I meet, if it's just one person, I just want to bring light, right? I just want to do good. And then James Clear said this, do the most important thing first each day and you'll never have an unproductive day. Isn't that good? I know we all get to the end of the day sometimes and go, well, that was interesting. And so if we live intentionally, then every day has purpose and we still reconnect with who we want to be, the best that is in us. And that's important, engage with that. So that's what the E stands for. And then the last P is for plan. So in this section, we plan for the day ahead. We think about what needs attention on this day. What do I want to do today? What are the important things that I'd like to spend my time on? So you might do that now as well. Think about the day ahead. We're at 12:30. So what would you like to accomplish today? I like to put a little box by all of my to-dos that I want to accomplish so that I can check them off. And then if I don't do it for whatever reason, I just move it down to the next day. I don't beat myself up about it. I just plan for it for tomorrow. But can you feel how it gives you direction and it gives you that intention? Instead of life just happening and just doing with what feels good in the moment, we're actually accomplishing the things that are important to us. And so the thing I hear most often from my clients is, oh, I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. And I think this practice, this prep time every morning helps to bridge that gap, helps us to see. And again, not to beat ourselves up, it's just to look at our lives and say, how am I doing? And what do I want to do next? And imagine if you just spent a few minutes every day setting your intentions, recognizing the good things that are happening to you, and getting excited about the day ahead. It's worked wonders for me. I can't imagine my life without it. And I hope you'll give it a try. Maybe just experiment a little bit and see what is a good fit for your life. But certainly living intentionally is important to all of us to get to the end of the day and feel like we've made good progress or we've made a difference. I had a client once who just said, you know what, Lynette, I'm just going to live my life. I just don't want to have to think about it so much. And that's okay too, right? Because sometimes we can overwhelm ourselves. So be careful about that. right? Notice if it's just overwhelming and you want to not do anything, then cut back a little bit and be gentle with yourself as you try something new. But I want you to consider that first portion of your morning is really can be very, very impactful and powerful, empowering for your day. So I mentioned a special offer. So with this practice, I have created a journal, and I just created this journal. It has 2 different covers, and I take this, my practice is set up by quarter, because I find that we do better when we take life by quarter, like 3-month periods, and mark our progress and really work hard for, it's kind of like a new year every 3 months, and it works out really, really well. So I have that journal, and in the journal, it has lots of things that we use for prep time. So it has the habit tracker, it has a calendar, it has a space for the 3-in-1, the gratitude practice, and then just some blank pages to take notes and to do writing exercises. And so with that journal, companion to that journal is I do a daily video where I walk you through prep time. So it's a video on an app. It's a free app called Marco Polo. And I just put up a video and my clients tap on the video and watch. And I just encourage you to, I'll share a scripture. I encourage you to, pray and read scriptures. Then I will go through the review and remind you, look at your habits. How did it go? And do your 3-in-1, reflect on the day. What went well? What are your gratitudes? Then I encourage you to engage with your best self. And I give you a little quote or thought or prompt about, being your best. And then the last is I prompt you to plan for the day. And one of the things I do is called Take 5. And I encourage you to I just give you a little area to focus on cleaning up just for 5 minutes. So that's kind of how that video goes. So what I'd like to offer to you, I think Arlene and Sue for inviting me, is just to have you try that. My mission is just to help people to live the lives they want. And so just a free subscription to that for the rest of this quarter till through the end of March. And I will just put you into the Marco Polo group, and all you do is open the app and listen to it. You don't have to respond. You don't have to do anything more than if you want to just listen to me walk you through prep time. And for my clients, it just helps them to have that anchor. Like for their prep time, they just turn on the video, watch me 5-10 minutes at the most. And so I walk you through that. So that's a $60 value, and you are welcome to try it out for this quarter. No strings attached whatsoever. I just really want to encourage people to do this practice. So it might help you to kind of get a running start on it. And then you can decide if you want to continue or not. And I will also send you, I have a PDF of this. So it's on Amazon, but you don't have to order it. We're like 2 weeks in, and I'm happy to send you the free PDF so you can print off pages if you want to. So that I would be happy to offer that to you. And if you're interested, just put your name, your cell number, and your email, because I'll need your cell number to log you into Marco Polo and your email address to send you the PDF. I don't do anything with I don't hand them off to anybody else, totally secure with me. So if you are interested in that, you can put it in the chat box. You can send it to me privately, so you don't have to send it to everyone. If you don't know how to do that, let me tell you my my website. It's Lynette Hopkins. So LANETTEHOPKINS.com. So LynetteHopkins.com. And there's a trial form there that you can fill out if you prefer not to put it here in the chat. But I would love to have you try it out and see what you think. I'm always looking for feedback. So I would love to hear any questions you have or anything you need. I'm happy to do some coaching, anything you'd like. I'm here for you.
Lynette, could you repeat that website again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, LynetteHopkins.com. Let me write it. I'll write it on a piece of paper here, because my name is spelled kind of differently. It's LANETTEHOPKINS.
So good afternoon. I just wanted to say thank you so much for this presentation. My name is Carlin Obringer. I'm a council member in Concord, and I just want to say that you are spot on, Lynette. I know that we're all really busy people and we can get pulled in a million directions. And so I have found fairly recently that I need to take that time in the morning, you know, to really meditate, level set. And on the days that I don't do that and I just jump out of bed and start hitting the ground running, boy, it feels much more chaotic. So I just wanted to support what you're sharing. And I love the journal and thank you for making the presentation. We can incorporate this into our lives no matter what our age is. So thank you.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. Well, I'm available if I just want to spread the love, man. This is my mission. I've discovered my thing, my gift, and I'm just trying to get it to as many people as possible because we don't have to die prematurely, right? We don't have to stop living our lives. And I think in our society, we don't have a lot of support. In my experience, after 50-ish, things kind of drop off and the youngsters take over, which is good, right? We want that. But meanwhile, we've got a lot of stuff we can still do, and we've got a lot of gifts to give. So I appreciate that, Carla. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Anything I can help with? Sorry.
I was just at if anybody else has any questions.
This is Sonia. It's not a question. It's just kind of a comment of what you were saying. I think one of the problems for me personally is that I do get going, but it's like I have 5 things I have to do in the first 10 minutes, you know. I can't fit in everything that I intend to do. And I also love to check things off. But there are new things all over. And some of you know, I took up hula hooping last year. That was really fun through Vitality Society. So I presume I'll be hula hooping up till 100 years old. You know, you can kind of match me on that. But
I love that.
it was just a fun thing getting through the pandemic with new things that were fun to try and to find some fun and joy every day. But it's still, the scheduling becomes a problem. I could start things, I can't quite finish the other things because I'm on to other things. And that's just part of my nature, I guess, trying to fit it all in.
Yeah, and I love that. That's a really excellent point. What I've learned from this intentional practice is that we start to recognize, oh, I can't do everything. So I've got to prioritize and decide what deserves my attention rather than just the next shiny object. And so that's another great thing to do in the morning is it's kind of sharpening the saw, right? If you don't take time to sharpen the saw, it's just going to get more dull. So that practice of setting your intentions for the day kind of helps us to see, I'm going to take that off my habit tracker. Not that important to me. Obviously, I'm not doing it. So there's a lot of benefit to just noticing what you described there, Sonia. That's really good.
Anybody else?
Well, it's been delightful to be with you. And I really appreciate all that you do in the community. I think it's amazing.
And thank you, Lynette.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. I think
My
we all
pleasure.
benefited from it. Yeah,
Oh, I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
And Arlene, thank
Bye-bye.
you for organizing